Imagine standing on the edge of a powder keg. Every news headline screams tension, and yet the real story lies hidden beneath the noise. Right now, the India-Pakistan situation is heating up, and the world is watching closely. But here's the twist. War might not be as imminent as everyone thinks. Historically, India has made big threats and blustered during crises, but action often tells a different story. In fact, during past conflicts, India never went so far as to cut the Indus River, a move that could have crippled Pakistan. Today, it's threatening far more, over a single attack. Yet patterns from the past suggest this may be more about signaling than striking. Think of it like a neighbor pounding on the fence, shaking their fists and threatening a fight, but never actually stepping into your yard. That's the situation on the subcontinent. Lots of tension, lots of posturing, but real war? Not necessarily on the table, yet. But don't be fooled. Signals like these carry weight, and misreading them can be dangerous. Behind the headlines, behind the social media debates, powerful decisions are being made, decisions that could ripple far beyond South Asia. Today, we're going to dig deep, uncovering not just the threats, but the strategy, the history, and the hidden forces shaping what comes next. To understand what's happening now, we need to look back. History often reveals patterns that headlines can't capture. Take India's past wars with Pakistan. In the heat of major conflicts, India never cut the Indus River, the lifeline for millions in Pakistan. That was a move that could have caused massive disruption, yet it never happened. Why? Because true military strategy isn't just about raw force. It's about calculated decisions, risk management, and political signaling. India has often relied on strong displays of power to make a point without crossing the line into full-scale war. Threats can be a tool, a way to rally domestic support, or to intimidate an opponent, and not necessarily a prelude to an actual invasion. Think of it like a chess game. A player might push pawns forward aggressively, threaten the opponent's king, even corner their pieces, but the first move to checkmate is deliberate and rare. India's recent threats fit this pattern. Loud, visible, attention-grabbing, but not necessarily the start of a war. Understanding this history is crucial. It shows us that not every warning translates into combat. And yet, it also highlights a dangerous reality. Misreading these signals can have serious consequences. For Pakistan, ignoring these threats isn't an option. Leaders must interpret the patterns correctly and prepare for what could happen, even if the immediate danger seems uncertain. Here's Section 3. Realistic Risk Assessment. Why Pakistan Can't Ignore Threats. Section 3. Realistic Risk Assessment. Why Pakistan Can't Ignore Threats. Even if India's threats are largely signaling, Pakistan can't afford to treat them lightly. In strategy, there's a saying, better safe than sorry. Ignoring even a bluff can be catastrophic if it turns out to be real. For Pakistani officials, the stakes are not hypothetical. They involve the safety of millions and the integrity of the state. Think of it like preparing for a storm. You see dark clouds on the horizon. It might just pass by, or it could unleash a hurricane. You don't wait to see which. You board up windows, gather supplies, and make contingency plans. In the same way, Pakistan's military and government must prepare for the worst-case scenario, even if the likelihood of war seems low. This pressure isn't abstract. Imagine commanders running simulations, pilots on high alert, intelligence agencies tracking every movement along the border, all while managing political and public expectations. One wrong calculation could escalate tensions in ways that no one intended. The key point here is that caution is not weakness. It's strategic foresight. By preparing, Pakistan ensures it can respond effectively, maintain stability, and prevent small provocations from spiraling into a full-scale conflict. The reality of risk is clear. Misjudging the situation, even slightly, could be far more dangerous than over-preparing. Here's Section 4. China's Strategic Role, the Hidden Backbone. Section 4. China's Strategic Role, the Hidden Backbone. Pakistan isn't facing these challenges alone. Behind the scenes, China has quietly become the country's most important strategic partner. And understanding this relationship is key to seeing the bigger picture. Pakistan isn't just a neighbor for China, it's a core interest, almost like a bridge to the Middle East and a safeguard for China's long-term plans. China has invested billions in Pakistan's infrastructure, from ports and railways to the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, which links China directly to the Arabian Sea. These aren't short-term projects. They are decades-long bets on Pakistan's stability and potential. Engineers and construction crews face real dangers, including attacks from extremists, yet both governments persist, signaling a long-term commitment that goes far beyond simple diplomacy. Think of it like planting a garden in a harsh desert. Every tree, every irrigation canal is a deliberate effort to transform the landscape. China is effectively reshaping Pakistan's infrastructure and military logistics to ensure that its corridor remains secure, and to create a reliable partner that can withstand regional instability. This means that Pakistan's ability to defend itself isn't just about its own military. It's also supported by China's strategic planning, resources, and willingness to back projects that strengthen the country. This global dimension turns the India-Pakistan tension into more than a local standoff. It's now part of a broader geopolitical chessboard, where every move is calculated and missteps carry international consequences. Here's Section 5, Military Capabilities, Comparing Strengths and Weaknesses. Section 5, Military Capabilities, Comparing Strengths and Weaknesses. When it comes to a potential conflict, the air is often where battles are won or lost. Pakistan's Air Force is currently well-equipped with F-16s, J-10s, and JF-17 fighter jets. The JF-17, a joint project with China, can be assembled independently in Pakistan, and China guarantees a steady supply of parts. Even its weaker RD-93 engines have a backup in the Chinese WS-13 engine, meaning Pakistan could sustain high-intensity operations without crippling shortages. Now, add China's direct support. Rumors suggest urgent deliveries of PL-15 air-to-air missiles for the JF-17 Block 3, with ranges up to 200-300 kilometers, far surpassing India's current missiles. These aren't just export models. They likely come straight from the Chinese Air Force arsenal, complete with shared tactical data. Essentially, Pakistan gains advanced technology that significantly shifts the balance in its favor. India, on the other hand, faces serious limitations. Its indigenous Tejas fighter is still struggling with performance issues. The Su-30 series relies on outdated electronics and radar, and only the imported Rafale jets are modern, but there are only 36 of them. Critical systems, from engines to radar to missiles, depend heavily on imports. This reliance slows upgrades, complicates logistics, and limits endurance in sustained combat. Imagine a chessboard where one player has a full set of high-tech pieces ready to move in perfect coordination, while the other has a few modern pieces surrounded by older, slower ones. That's the current situation. The Air Force isn't just planes. It's a combination of technology, strategy, and supply chains. Pakistan's advantages, combined with China's backing, create a defensive and offensive capability that India would struggle to counter in a high-intensity war. Here's Section 6, Geopolitics and Alliances. Who would actually help? Section 6, Geopolitics and Alliances. Who would actually help? Military power is only part of the equation. Wars today are fought as much with politics, alliances, and economic leverage as with jets and missiles. When considering support for either side, the global context becomes critical. Let's start with India. Many people assume the U.S. would back India fully in a conflict. In reality, the U.S. has its own priorities. It has shown hesitancy even in supporting Ukraine fully, and key relationships with Gulf nations, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, which control massive wealth and critical oil supplies, often outweigh any single South Asian partnership. The U.S. also has deep economic ties with China, making direct intervention risky. Even intelligence sharing or satellite support would be limited compared to Pakistan's level of Chinese backing. Russia, too, is hardly an option for India. Mired in Ukraine and dependent on China's cooperation, Moscow has neither the capacity nor the incentive to offer meaningful assistance. Friction over India's ambiguous stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict only reduces the likelihood of help. Now look at Pakistan. China, with its enormous investments and strategic interests, is committed to supporting Pakistan. Beyond direct military aid, China can provide intelligence, advanced missiles, electronic warfare support, and logistical backing. Even if it avoids entering a war outright, its involvement behind the scenes significantly strengthens Pakistan's position. The takeaway? Modern alliances aren't just about signing treaties. They're about who has the capacity, the political will, and the economic leverage to act. In this chessboard, Pakistan enjoys a robust strategic partner in China, while India's potential allies are constrained by their own competing priorities. This makes the power balance far more complex than raw numbers of tanks or planes. In modern conflicts, victory isn't just about numbers, it's about technology, strategy, and adaptability. Pakistan's edge isn't just its jets or missiles, it's the sophisticated support network China can provide behind the scenes. Think of it like a high-stakes video game. China can jam GPS signals in combat zones, giving Pakistan an advantage in navigation and targeting. It can open secure communications channels, provide early warning radar, and even send electronic warfare specialists to manage the battlefield from the rear. Drones, robotic systems, and advanced surveillance gear further enhance Pakistan's ability to respond quickly and intelligently. In extreme scenarios, China could go even further. Chinese aircraft could be repainted in Pakistani colors and enter combat, creating a force multiplier that India cannot ignore. This isn't science fiction, it's a real-world application of asymmetric strategy. By combining local forces with technologically advanced support, Pakistan can sustain high-intensity operations at a fraction of the cost India would incur. Imagine facing an opponent who not only has strong defenses, but can also manipulate the environment, disrupt communications, and respond faster than you anticipate. That's the strategic reality India would confront. Modern warfare today is about much more than tanks and fighter jets. It's about integrating intelligence, technology, and allied support to create an unstoppable system. So, what does all this mean? When you step back and look at the full picture, the risks, capabilities, and alliances become clear. India may have ambition and local advantages, but Pakistan has China's strategic backing, modern technology, and a well-prepared military. Even with excellent performance, India could at best fight Pakistan to a stalemate, and that's without considering China's indirect or direct support. History teaches a harsh lesson. Overestimating your strength and underestimating your opponent leads to humiliation. Modi's government must weigh the consequences carefully. This isn't about paper threats. It's about real-world firepower, global strategy, and the ripple effects of every decision. Consider this. A few militants cannot be defeated easily. So how could an entire army, supported by a major global power and advanced technology, be overcome without severe consequences? The stakes go beyond borders. They involve global economic interests, international alliances, and the credibility of nations themselves. The takeaway is simple but critical. When nations play with fire, miscalculations can be catastrophic. War isn't just about winning battles. It's about understanding the chessboard, the players, and the cost of every move. And here's the question to leave with you. In a world where strategy, technology, and global interest intersect, who truly bears the consequences when a conflict ignites?